I'm Popeye the Slayer, man. You'll wind up in a garbage can. I kill to the finish, 'cause I eat toxic spinach. I'm Popeye the Slayer, man.
For uncensored news, millions of Eastern Americans switch on Radio Free Hollywood, the new sound from outside.
Radio Free Hollywood, episode 2. Three.
No, X actually 4.
Radio Free Hollywood, episode 4, March 26th, 2025. This week in Hollywood, March 27th, 1954, a drunken elephant at Cecil B. DeMille's party. At a rap party for the greatest show on earth, DeMille insisted on authentic circus flair, which apparently meant a real elephant. The elephant broke into the kitchen, guzzled several cases of champagne, and had to be escorted out by 6 handlers. Joan Crawford, unfazed, toasted the pachyderm. Finally, someone who drinks more than I do. Welcome to Radio Free Hollywood.
I'm Steve Jacob,
And I'm John Kassir.
and this week we're talking about all sorts of fun things. We're talking about Ari Emanuel and his exit from WME. We're talking about Amy Pascal and David Heyman. They closed their deal to produce Bond for Amazon. Finally, Amazon is going to do a Bond.
Wow.
And we are going to talk a little bit, just a little bit, about Stay in LA. They set their rally for April 6th. So, yeah, welcome to Radio Free Hollywood. So big doings over at WME.
Yeah. Can I say
uh,
something really quick about the drunken elephant thing?
Oh, please.
Have you ever seen The Party with,
Yeah.
did they get that from this story, I wonder?
I saw that, I probably saw that movie 40 years ago. So
Peter Sellers, he plays an East Indian, which he probably wouldn't be able to do today.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. No. The Party. What am I thinking about? I was thinking about the Wild Party is what
The
I was
Wild
thinking
Party.
about with
I know which one you're
Fatty
talking about.
Arbuckle.
Oh, right.
All getting in trouble.
No, this is he's an extra, like in a David Lean's size picture. It's like they're on the desert shooting something that looks like Lawrence of Arabia, and he messes up an entire shot with thousands of extras and all this stuff. So his name is sent to a list. Don't ever hire this guy again. But he accidentally winds up on a party list at the producer's house. And of course, he shows up there and, comedy ensues. Buddy num-nums. And,
Yeah.
And at some point, an elephant winds up there. And of course, because from his country, it's a sacred animal, he teaches them all about the elephant and they paint it and the whole thing. And there's a whole thing with an elephant at a big Hollywood party. I wonder if, somewhere, because I didn't know this story. And I'm wondering if somehow that wound up there because of,
Well, Hollywood
knows?
tends to repeat itself quite
Yeah.
a bit. So,
write what you know.
Write what you know. No, when you were describing that, you reminded me of Tropic Thunder when Ben Stiller in the beginning, they're like dropping bombs out of helicopters and all this stuff and losing the light. He goes, I just don't feel it. Can we go back to...
Amazing.
Yeah. So,
Anyway, go
Anyway.
on with Emmanuel and his exit from WME.
yeah, it's an exit, but it's really not an exit. It's kind of like he's going to continue to, he's just becoming CEO of the fighting companies, TKO. And it's interesting, Patrick, Whitesell is also exiting, although they talked about this several months ago. And he is opening a sports agency. So this is basically Ari's going out the door with 178 million, and Patrick's going out the door with 100 million, and they're going off to basically do sports.
Although I did hear that they were going to reinvest it back into their new company.
Yes, they did. Well,
We'll see.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do with that kind of money? Of course, I mean, Ari's money went into a trust. I know that.
Ah,
I heard that. So, yeah, I read something. I read something also about that. It certainly Patrick was rolling over money into his company, but that's not
or just
really
rolling over money, period.
well, rolling in it. They're certainly rolling in money. And they built something incredible, and I have no problem with them cashing out and getting money, all the money they can get from it. That's capitalism at its finest. My issue is the sports angle, and that they're going into sports, and they're not gonna, it's like their focus is not on making movies. So you have to look
Yeah.
at that and look at what's going on in the industry and go, okay, well, what are the players doing, and what is the industry doing? And meanwhile, you have two of the biggest players basically getting out to do sports,
Yeah.
and that's it's not great news. Although it's not like WME is not going to do talent anymore. I mean, Mark Shapiro is going to be the CEO now. Um, I've never met him, but I understand he's really talented. So I'm sure,
It's got a great reputation.
yeah, I'm sure it'll be in good hands. So I mean, it's just I just think it's interesting with everything going on in entertainment, with the contractions of television, with the troubles of uh, movie theaters, that these players are really just, well, we're going to do sports now instead because that's where the money is. And I'd love to see, like, let's make some art, let's make some movies, let's tell some stories, let's do
Yeah.
that. I mean,
Well, with
it's
people not going to the theaters and watching TV, I mean, what do people watch a lot of on TV? Sports. I
I
mean, a
get
lot
that.
of the content, and we do get it, but people will miss it. People love entertainment. People like to escape. People are looking for fun stuff. Um,
I
I
just
mean,
wonder, what's it do to the playing field more than anything else?
I don't know. Can you equate it to like when, what they called, um, uh, what's the term? Not natural TV, but, you know, uh, uh,
Cable.
well, cable. Yeah, that
I
that
this
had an
is
effect. But I'm talking about, I'm talking about, what they lyingly call, uh, you're gonna have to cut this out. My brain is fried. I've been sick all week.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry to hear that.
what's the term?
We
We're
didn't do
looking.
our banter. I should have asked you,
What's the?
John, how are you? Oh, I'm sick.
I came back from
So I don't know,
Mexico with
maybe we'll come back
Mexico.
and do this another day.
Montezuma's Revenge. Let me ask you this. How does this equate to the change when so much of television moved from scripted to non-scripted television with
Well,
these
that's interesting that you put it like that, because that anything in Hollywood, of course, is a financial decision, and the rise of non-scripted came directly off of the SAG strike of 2000,
yeah,
and
that's true.
that's when that really started. And it intensified every time you had a cycle, and there was labor unrest, because you don't need union actors to make it. It's real people, and that's what that is. I mean,
Yeah,
I
and those
see there's
shows
a
were successful.
correlation.
And
Yeah,
those shows
no, I
were
see there's a
successful.
correlation. It's about following the money. Where's the money going to be? And I enjoy sports. I know you enjoy sports. I think that it tells a certain type of story. All sports do.
Well,
The
they're also
thrill,
trying to expand their demographic. I
of
mean,
course, yeah.
why else were they going to show Taylor Swift every 5 minutes on a football game? Because they know that she has its fan base that's watching football for the first time and enjoying it. on some level. And, women's sports are hugely featured now, especially basketball and that type of thing. And soccer has been for some time. I mean, on some level, I think that the people watch more women's soccer on TV than men's soccer here in the States anyway. But go on, I'm sorry, you were saying.
I was just saying, I think you're right. I think that they're following the money in much the same way. It's just a little more systemic this time.
Yeah. Tone
because
deaf on some level too,
excuse me, what did you say?
Tone deaf on some level too.
Yeah, it's tone deaf. It's just a move away from traditional storytelling. It's the difference between, like, Indian tribes playing games with each other in the day, and then sitting around the fire telling stories at night. We're getting rid of the fire, which I think is the more interesting type of entertainment, the more interesting type of anthropological and entertainment. So because before the written word, it was all handed down stories, and movie making is an extension of that. And I just find it just kind of a little sad that they're taking their money and going home. Why are you shaking your phone at me, John?
Because you could blame it on that too. I mean, look at the news. The news has become reality programming instead of actual news.
Yeah,
I mean, I
well,
used to be able to turn
yeah.
on CNN and know that I was going to get an encapsulated version of really the stories that were going on, what was important that I know. And then an hour later, they would repeat it or whatever. And now, I turn it on and I get whatever, feeds to whatever demographic they know that they have listening.
Thereafter, yeah.
And they're playing to, opinions about it. And I was like, I don't care about your opinion. I mean, your opinion can come into play once you've given me the actual facts that I want to hear or I need to hear. And then I can decide whether I want to
Well,
listen
they're
to your
giving
opinion.
their opinion now because it's 24 hours and they have to fill the time. I'm interested. Will, what is your take on all of this?
On the moving to sports or
Moving to
the
sports, how the
I
money is
I
diverging.
I tend to agree with you. I mean, they are moving where the money is. It's also much less regulated. There's not nearly this sort of unionization. I think like they basically the sky is the limit in a way across the board for sports that is not true in cinema anymore. But that's I'm with you. Like a thing I return to a lot is like it sucks because this town has always been run by psychopaths, but it used to be run by psychopaths with taste and balls. Like it used to be run by guys who they wanted to beat you, but they wanted to beat you with the ineffability of their own taste. And like that's, I mean, there was I can't remember what the name of it was, but there was a show on I think like Epix with Miles Teller that was about the making of The Godfather, and he played sort of the producer who made that all happen.
He played Al Ruddy.
Yeah, and so it was just like it was refreshing to see crazy people who were trying to screw each other over, in a business sense, but screw each other in a business sense in order to make good movies.
Exactly. I mean, that's an excellent correlation because that's Al Ruddy and Robert Evans.
Yeah.
And then it does touch on, because at that time, that was the beginning of the corporatization of Hollywood, because GE was involved. And so you had the CEO played by, who's that actor? He's so good. Guy.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah.
We'll look it up. I'll add his name
look
in.
Look it in the show notes.
Yeah.
There.
But but I just want to say, like, it's from a tech perspective. I think it is unfortunately not a tech money that sort of made this happen. Just because it's like tech is an industry where the number has to go up every single quarter. So then a studio can lose money 2 quarters and make all of it back on a blockbuster 1 quarter, and they're fine. That's not how tech works, and so it is a fundamentally different business model once Netflix starts entering the game. Is my view, I guess.
Well, boy, you're a lot more interesting than us, Will. We should just let you do this podcast alone.
Yeah.
I try not to luxuriate in the darkness. You know, you got to just move forward.
Luxuriate in the darkness.
That's called watching TV.
Yeah.
It is luxuriating in the darkness. I mean, it always brings it back to the same conversation. It's like, I appreciate you guys want to make money, but there are plenty of businesses to make money in where you don't have to destroy the actual product in order to do it. It's like, I just don't get it. It's, it's the same idea behind trying to keep the dreams here in LA where the dreams began. I mean, don't you want to come see where, Marilyn Monroe made her name and James Dean? I mean, the people still do. And I mean, the award shows were launched off that. Yeah, they were marketing, but they also had to do with what you were talking about, Will, about the pride of making something. I won. I was competitive, and I won against you guys with the best movie, with the really best movie, with the coolest movie, the biggest movie, the best actors, the best director, the most beautiful film shot in the most exotic location. And as opposed to which one made the most money streaming. And that's not necessarily what's happening. I'm just saying that's kind of where it's headed, because
Well, it just kind of feels like entertainment, cinema, as Will put it. It's like been a way station for tech. They developed,
for sure.
computer software. Then they have developed the software for entertainment, and it's like they've tapped out those two revenue streams, and now they're moving on to sports. And I guess we'll just really have to see how they're going to wreck sports,
yeah.
seeing as they wreck everything else in their path.
Yeah.
Well, every 5 minutes there'll be a replay. They'll have to stop the game to find out if they actually hit the quarterback in the head, or whether it would just look like that. They're already halfway there with that. So
Yeah.
So they'll have biofeedback in his helmet,
Yeah.
so they see just how bad his concussion is in real time on TV.
yeah, he's faking.
He's faking it.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's going to be drooling when he's 50.
Yeah. And then they're going to have
Yeah.
like audience participation, feelings about it at the end.
Yeah,
what did you think? What did
testimonials.
you think?
Okay. Let's talk about let's talk about Bond. Anyway, Amy Pascal and David Heyman closed their deal to produce Bond for Amazon. Amazon's been trying to make a Bond for a while now, but Barbara Broccoli has been cock blocking them for the better part of 5 years. And yeah, I don't blame her.
She was shaken and not stirred
it's
by
true.
Amazon.
Yeah, but I mean, I have actually negotiated with both Amy Pascal and David Heyman in the past, and they're really very nice people, and they're very, very competent. I think they're going to make an amazing movie.
Didn't they already have one in the works, and this was just an extension of that, or am I wrong about that?
I think, well, they have something that they've been trying to get the Broccoli family to approve for a long time, but
I see.
they won't do it because every time they get close, some, pencil neck at Amazon wants to change it and throw in a marketing thing, and Barbara Broccoli freaks out and go, no, I'll never make a Bond if this is what it's going to be. Because, her father, Cubby Broccoli, which is one of the best names ever in Hollywood, he is his baby. He found the Ian Fleming novels, and he really ran with it and made it what it was, and she's protecting that.
I don't
And
blame her.
that's-
We all should be protective of it. It's an iconic franchise that I take personally if somebody does something that's kind of messes it up.
Yeah. There have been so many stumbles with things like Star Wars and whatnot. It's like there's not many legacy franchises still standing untarnished.
Well, that is what Amazon wanted to do. They wanted to make a movie. They wanted to make a series. They wanted to make a prequel. They wanted to make, everything.
I don't
And
I don't
they,
need young
and
James
the
Bond.
Broccoli family said, no, that's not the franchise. That's not what we do. That's not what this character is. You can't like, it'll get so watered down, it won't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah, I mean,
it's like,
everything from the proper casting to the style of it and who directs it and the music and finding the right theme song. I mean, it's a formula that's not only worked, it's just something that we've all loved.
yeah.
And we love to see happen over and over and over again. I mean, that's the reason we've kept going. I mean, I was a little kid whenever I'd go visit my cousins up north on the East Coast, we'd always try, if there was a Bond movie out, we would all try to go see it together, whether it was Thunderball or Goldfinger or whatever it was. And, you know, that's something that I can still turn on and know that I'm going to watch something that still resonates with me, no matter how old that picture is.
It's true.
You know?
I'll watch any Bond movie anytime, anywhere. An
Anytime.
old one, a new one,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, and the latest ones, I mean, with Daniel Craig, as far as I'm concerned, they talk about Sean Connery. Daniel Craig was better Bond.
You know, I loved Sean Connery, maybe because I saw him as a kid, but, you know, I loved the you know, the fallible aspect of the
Yeah.
Daniel Craig Bond.
I do too.
You know,
I
the,
love-
the fact that he's, you know, plus, you know, I mean, it's good. I was watching Goldfinger and seeing how, you know, the chauvinist remarks that are written in on purpose, you
Yeah.
know, and that kind of thing, and how, you know, it was seen as charm, not seen as insulting dialogue towards a woman. Pussy galore.
Pushy girl.
Pussy. But you know, I do love how it's evolved. I even love the fact that they, you know, they brought in a female writer to come in and try to spruce up the female characters so they had more depth to
Yeah,
them and that
well,
kind
I
of
mean,
thing.
when
I
they
love
brought in Judi Dench, that was like,
Yeah.
that was great, and I love that.
that.
Which,
Cute.
Judy Dench is, I think, the
Judi
best
Dench
M
is-
by far.
yeah,
Like,
oh, by far,
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
love there was a scene in, I can't remember which one it was, where she's talking to him about retirement and going through the list of all of his injuries. And it's just great. I just think that, you know, and putting Javier Bardem in the middle of it.
Oh my
and-
God. Yeah,
Yeah,
the classic villain. I mean, whoever's the greatest actor that's around that could go there, even though you don't expect him to be that guy, whether it was William Seymour Hoffman or Javier Bardem or somebody like that, to show up and be the Bond villain is awesome. You know, I mean, it's become a, you know, like an adverb. You know, it's like, oh my God, you walked into this guy's office. It was like he's a Bond villain. You know, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you know, he had glass floors with, you know, expensive artifacts underneath them. You know, it was like,
Yeah, actually, you just reminded me. The last Father of the Bride, the remake of the Father of the Bride, they actually say that there. Andy Garcia's walking up to this guy's yacht. Okay, he's the father of the groom, walking up, and the guy's waving from the top of the yacht. Andy says to his wife, "What is this guy, a Bond villain?"
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And the exotic locations and stuff. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, the stuff you could do with CGI is great, but if you can really shoot on those exotic locations and really make us feel them, I mean, I can smell the salt air in Thunderball. I can feel the, you know, Bermuda. You know, I can feel all that when I watch those movies. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Miller. I'm
Hi,
Popeye
Jeff.
the Slayer man. You'll wind up in a garbage can. I kill to the finish 'cause I eat toxic spinach. I'm Popeye the Slayer man.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we know who's going to be in Popeye the Slayer Man 2.
Oh, no. All you need is the mother to show up finally, and she's got to look like olive oil.
Right. That's right.
I love that the somebody in the movie looks like a very attractive olive oil on some level. That was at least my take on it.
We did that on purpose, and we actually cast her because we loved her eyes and her hair, and she reminded us of Shelley Duvall from Robin Williams' Popeye movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Robert.
Well,
Altman.
I thought the cartoon olive oil was really hot.
Says a lot about you, Steve.
Well, I was also 4 years old, so
I think you're the only one that thinks that. Yeah.
yeah.
I think
Yep.
they were kind of like on acid or something when they wrote that cartoon with all the goons and and Sweet Pea and all the weird characters that showed up on that Goon Island. Just a bizarre cartoon. I love your casting, Jeff, too. A lot of the people just don't seem like you haven't seen a lot of them. I'm sure they've all worked on some level, but they seem so real in the moment in those movies. And it's always a precarious thing, especially in horror genre movies where you see casting that just doesn't land. And I think that you guys do a great job. Maybe you want to speak on that a little bit?
Thank you. Yeah. A lot of the cast were just new people that we found out of New York City. We shot the movie in upstate New York, and it's a small town, and there's not a deep talent pool there. We got a few local actors, but we brought a lot in from New York, and I would say most of our leads and strong supporting characters just cold auditioned. The one lead that plays Dexter, I'd done 2 other movies with him. One was called Ouija Witch, and then he had a small role in one called 12 to Midnight. Poster which is back here behind me. But and then the guy that played Popeye, Jason Stevens, he's been good friends with the director for, I don't know, since they were kids. So they've known each other and they've done films together for a long time. So they knew each other. And then Mabel Thomas, who played the girl Katie, she was in our movie Ouija Witch also. But most of the other people were of the lead, Scooby Gang, so to speak, and even most of the bad guys, were people from New York, that we brought into auditions.
Fantastic. They really carried it well. I really enjoyed seeing their performances.
Thank you.
You're kind of like the Ryan Murphy of this genre, although the difference is Ryan Murphy always makes this really great project that eventually jumps the shark. You're like, wait a minute, when did alien bots enter this story? But your sharks come swimming right in the credits. It's all right there. So it all is true to your own genre on some level.
So you must be pretty buoyed by how well the Terrifier series is going, for like more reasonably budget horror films.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about like what your aspirations are with trying to build some franchises that, because I think Terrifier 3 really made everything pretty ripe. It said, okay, well, you can take this kind of movie and really make money on it.
For sure. We knew about, obviously when we were filming, the third one had not come out, but the second Terrifier had come out, was a big hit. And we were like, okay, the third one's going to come out in a few months and it's going to be big. So we need to compete with this. And we knew we were never going to compete with the level of gore that they have. And we didn't try, but we wanted to, ramp up the gore a little bit. We told our effects guy, look, get as much blood as you need. We don't care. We'll pay for the fake blood. Just get as much as we want gallons of blood. Don't worry about it. We don't want to skimp on blood, but we never wanted to compete with Terrifier because it would be impossible. But
Well, this is more. I think this is more fun across the board. I mean, Terrifier, you really have to have a stomach.
I'm just talking about the finances, really. I'm not
Of course,
comparing
no, I
the
know what you're
films.
saying. I know what you're saying, Steve. No, totally.
Yeah.
I totally. I appreciate that. You know, I mean, having loved horror since I was a kid. I mean, starting out with everything from Baltimore. We had something called Twilight Movie, and they showed Doris Day movies in the afternoon, whatever. But then they had all the Universal Horror monster movies. They would show the Roger Corman stuff, some of the William Castle stuff, Tingler, and that kind of thing. And I loved your Edgar Allan Poe, by the way. And I mean, that kind of thing. It really was the stuff that people cut their teeth on. Why Tales from the Crypt is so popular, because those genres of cautionary tales that can be told. I mean, to me, the substance was just a long Tales from the Crypt episode, and here it was an Oscar-nominated film. On some level, extremely well acted. Episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, I go back to when I used to get home from school. Some channel in Hartford, where I'm from, played old reruns of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And it was great because they started with. Did you ever see one of those? Yeah, yeah. I mean, it starts with Alfred Hitchcock introducing it, and
telling puns, which he probably
Yes,
got from the Tales from the
exactly.
Crypt comic books, and stuff like that.
and then you'd watch 20 minutes of the most horrifying shit you've ever seen. And yet you came back the next night for more. So what's next, Jeff?
Well, gee, we're pushing Popeye hard because it just came out, and we're just trying to be in still promoting in recovery mode. But I've got a couple things in post. Yeah, I've got a Western that I did with Robert Bronzi and Michael Pare called Bury 'Em Deep. That's coming out this summer. Robert Bronzi's this guy behind me. He's at a few posters. He looks like Charles Bronson. It's
So much like Charles
yeah,
Bronson. It's
yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first time I became aware of you was through Death Kiss, because I know Eva worked on that too, and wow, like what a what a doppelganger he really is. How did you end up meeting him?
It's crazy. My first one with him was Death Kiss. I'd done another movie with the director who had worked with Bronzi on a previous Western, and he had like seen posters of him in a saloon in Spain or something. It was like, hey, which Bronson movie is this from? And the bartender said, that's not Bronson, that's Bronzi. He does Western stunt shows here. So that director, Rene Perez, had first used him in a movie, but then I said, you know what? Why don't we put him in something that's like Death Wish? And that's how Death Kiss was born. And then so I've now done 8 movies with him. So Bury 'Em Deep comes out this summer, and then one called The Caretaker with Rampage Jackson and Daniel Baldwin comes out. Well, we're in post on that one, but that'll hopefully come out later this year. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's brilliant what you're doing. I mean, for years I did a project called Reefer Madness, the musical, which went from stage to movie. And I always loved that they had grabbed something that was public domain and turned it into something really entertaining, but also socially thought-provoking and entertaining on so many levels. And that's what I think you're doing. And I think it's great, I mean, to take something like Popeye. I mean, I know that somebody is already doing something with Steamboat Willie, which of course is Mickey Mouse, because he became public domain immediately. Somebody picked it up and started making a horror movie out of it. And I was just like, oh my God, I love that. I love that. But you're already on it. You're already in the midst of it. You're already the go-to guy for that.
Well,
kind of
people
thing.
did a Winnie the Pooh a couple years ago that did big. That was kind of the first, I guess, resurgence of this public domain. But over 10 years ago, I did a Paul Bunyan horror movie.
I saw that in your IMDb, but I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that.
That was a fun one. He's like a 15-foot tall, misunderstood killer. So,
Is there an understood killer?
Scott,
I to know that.
I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but the movie is over 10 years old. But, somebody does something to Babe the Blue Ox, and he's not happy about it. And he gets
that's like-
repairing.
So it's like a John Wick
Yeah,
type
John Wick.
story.
If John was 15 feet tall.
And Blue Ox was a dog.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, we did that one. We did the Edgar Allan Poe story. I helped executive produce a Nutcracker movie a few years ago. So I've done a few of these characters that are kind of in the public domain world. Yeah, a few things. So
Yeah. Yeah.
in a few years, Superman and Batman are going to be public domain. So who knows what's going to be coming then down the pipeline.
Interesting.
I love it.
John, you said you had some ideas. You
I
gonna
do.
pitch something?
I'll pitch them privately. I imagine you could probably pitch all day for this type of thing especially if you're going with a public domain, and just you would laugh your ass off. Not every single one of them would land, but you'd laugh your ass off certainly thinking about how to make them into a horror movie. And one that's not necessarily formulaic. I mean, you're like, don't go into the factory. It's on some level, but I mean, we've seen a lot of those, but nothing really went the way that we thought it was going to go. And again, I think that also had to do with your casting and the development of your characters, which I thought was really fun.
If you were talking about Willy Wonka, that would be an excellent horror
He's
movie.
already a pedophile, so it's like
I heard you got that going for
Yeah,
him.
that's sort of.
It's like the chocolate rivers would be like blood and everything. Yeah, you could make like you could make the ultimate fun house out of that factory. That would be
flying
freaking
Oompa
amazing.
Loompas with fangs. It's very.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for Mary Poppins because I think Mary Poppins would be like
Mary Choppin.
I actually wrote a pitch about that.
That's great.
Mary
Yeah.
Poppins.
They went down the line the other night at the premiere, and the interviewer from Fangoria was asking people what characters from like a cartoon or comic strip would you like to see as a slasher killer, and somebody said Charlie Brown. So that was interesting.
Finally gets sick of Lucy pulling the football away and just, starts taking him out.
He loses it, man.
Yeah,
He's actually a puppet character. He's actually just being puppeted by Snoopy. Snoopy's been mind melding him and controlling him the whole time.
Exactly.
Charlie Manson Brown.
Charlie Manson Brown. No, if Charlie's going to be the killer, because the thing that immediately jumped to mind was pulling the football away, Lucy pulling the football away and putting a machete there.
Yeah.
And he just goes right through his leg.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's the first scene. And then he does the rest of the movie on a prosthetic. But
Yeah.
he becomes the killer. Lucy starts out that way, but he becomes the killer.
Well, it's like the adults always talk.
Yeah.
At you, don't look at you. It becomes Carrie, and Charlie's gonna get payback for Pigpen, and every single one of them is gonna die. Pigpen, get me some pig blood.
Yeah. So anyway,
You can see
I
how
think
fertile what you do is.
we've gone totally
opens up a
sideways on
Yeah,
you.
we
You
could.
probably think-
I love it. I've got a couple of things I'm working on now. One's in post. It's kind of I don't want to give away the title or the premise, but it's kind of in this fun, have fun with it world of it's not Mary Poppins, but it's getting into that fun world. So that's kind of the next a couple of things that are in the pipeline that'll be coming out. That I don't want to give too much away because even with Popeye the Slayer Man, where there are people that were kind of stealing our title and stuff, and you just got to be careful. I'm like, I'm being very
It happens so fast. It happens so fast.
The one problem with public domain.
I mean, it's going to these conventions and stuff. Everybody's shopping their independent horror features, but I get a lot of I mean, there isn't a day that I don't go on one of my social media, threads and have somebody ask me if I could do a voice or a character for their, low budget feature that they're working on. Anything from college through to festival films to actually having a budget. And, it's really interesting to look through them and try to find something that's original or that's not just been ripped off from something else. That's just not a derivative of something that's just been out or whatever. But, it's great. It's really great to see what you're doing, Jeff. We're all fans over here.
Yeah.
We're all fans. Yeah. Sure.
I find it particularly inspiring just because I really respect that you sort of like are doing a lot of the creative work. You're doing a lot of the writing. You're doing, but like, I think a thing we talk about on this podcast a lot is how much the industry is sort of changing from the traditional like writer, director, producer, like dichotomy, how everything's kind of collapsing into one because you got to be the whole shop in a lot of ways now to sort of get anything going. And so I think like I'm somebody, I write, but I've also sort of, I've had to move into directing and producing simply sort of out of necessity because you can't just be a writer anymore, except at sort of like very, very top levels. And so I think it's really cool, sort of the niche you found and how effective you've been at sort of like making these movies and rolling stuff into the next one. And so I'm looking more at just going and shooting a movie out in the woods myself. Because
you got to just do it. Yeah. You can't just sit around and, people ask me about advice all the time. I'm like, you just got to make something, be proactive and what resources do you have?
You go, well, that's interesting. What is your genesis story with that?
In general, like just how I kind of started or what,
Yeah.
I mean, in a nutshell, I started out as a writer. I wrote comic strips when I was a kid. I got into short stories, kind of novellas. I wrote my first screenplay at 18. I wanted to be a screenwriter. And then I was living in South Carolina. I'm from the Carolinas. One of my mentors was James Lineberger, who was a co-writer on Taps, big studio movie with Timothy Hutton and Tom Cruise.
Remember
So I wrote a bunch of scripts, but none of them, I got, I did get a paid writing job when I was like 23. I got like, not a whole lot of money. That movie was never made. I just wanted to make stuff and I was getting impatient, and I knew filmmakers in South Carolina who had made an anthology movie called Campfire Tales. They were making their second one called Freak Show. And I called the producer and I said, I had met him when I was in college there. And I said, hey, if I help you raise money, can I come aboard as a producer? I want to learn producing and come on set. And he said, yeah, help us bring money is the thing that rules all, right? So I bring money. So of course he loved hearing that. So I came aboard, brought some money in, put a little money in myself, and I learned producing and helped with casting and crewing and locations and craft services and everything on that shoot. And that was in my mid-20s. Fun fact. That was my first credit. The acquisitions executive who bought that movie was Jason Blum.
And that movie wasn't Alex Winter. Wasn't he the? Is this a different?
This is a very low budget movie. The only names in it were Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface, and Veronica Carlson, who had done some Hammer horror films in the 60s and 70s. They were the only names, but it came out in 1995. Jason Blum worked for a company called Arrow Entertainment before he went to, I think, Miramax after that. And of course, now he's, huge. So anyway, I made 3 movies in South Carolina. I moved to LA in 2001 to try to make bigger films. I'd gotten interest in a Edgar Allan Poe biopic that I had co-written and owned. That one never got made. That's kind of a pet project. And anyway, I love horror, and I just started making other movies eventually, including the Paul Bunyan one. And kind of since then, the last few years, I've been very fortunate to have been able to produce multiple movies a year. So that's just been a good ride. And it's kind of work begets work. You do something, you meet people, and you just keep working. People come to you, and you're just kind of at some point inundated with people that send you projects. And, I'm in a very fortunate spot, I guess, the last few years. But I'm just kind of keeping at it and trying to make what I like. Making movies is hard, so I just try to focus on stuff I like and want to put my name on. Some are better than others, and so I'll be the first to admit that. But yeah, I just try to keep at it.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that's amazing.
work absolutely begets, right? Eva from Death Kiss, which everyone should watch. But she and I started doing a sort of a Elvira, but for the TikTok era thing called Alana Darkchild. That we just started making stuff and just started like we put a series together about her buying a house that's haunted and dating the ghost, and then finding out he's just like a regular guy, not like a cool castle ghost. So getting him evicted by a exorcist. And that was some of the most fun I've ever had making stuff, and it has turned into a lot more. Like we've started being invited places. We've done a couple conventions as Alana, and we're hoping to set up sort of a live show at Vidiot's for hosting horror stuff sometime in the near future. But
Come on,
just
Will,
to,
don't lie. You're the one that dresses up like her, don't you?
well, you never see us in the same room. I'll tell you that much.
That's
No, but
true.
but I'm just saying, like it is.
It's Michael and Latoya.
Yeah, I think it's I'm more Superman Clark Kent, but
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
But the,
Okay. Okay. Whatever
Yeah.
helps you sleep at night. Will.
Yeah, man.
but yeah, no, I just want to say, like, I do find it very very inspiring that, like, in a world where like everybody's complaining about how it's impossible to get anything made, being able to bring multiple movies to completion, like, in a year. It's like that is half of the art at this point, maybe more of the art at this point, is making the movie, not just the art that's on screen at the end of the movie. And I think I think it's cool what you're doing.
Well, I found after, that I enjoyed producing. Even though I started as a writer, I still love the creative process. And that's why I end up writing or co-writing a lot of my movies. Sometimes I'll come up with a story, I'll do a few page treatment, and then I'll hire a writer to actually do the script, and then we'll go back and forth. Because I still love the creative process, but I just found that I enjoyed producing and was actually kind of good at it, like, for some reason. And then I have a kind of it doesn't always seem like my girlfriend would tell you that she doesn't think I'm the most organized person, but somehow I have kind of an organized mind. I'm able to compartmentalize and get all these contracts and things done that you have to do as a producer of low budget movie. You're doing kind of everything. When you're a low budget producer, you're doing like cast and crew, locations, insurance, like, you're kind of supervising everything. And so,
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess at some point I found that I was adequate doing that, and I kept doing it.
Yeah.
That's the story of my life. I'm adequate.
Oh, raising money is totally, again, that's the hardest thing. So that's one of the hardest things. So yeah, but, I tell people to use what resources you have. These days it's so cheap to film with people to film with their phones. So, just make something. Make a story that takes place in your house or your apartment. Just do something. Too many people just have great ideas, but just they never seem to follow through. It's just
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I think that we've taken enough of your time now. So I want to thank you for coming by and sharing with us. And fans. We're fans.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
guys.
yeah. Looking forward. Come back when you're able to talk about the next one. Release the title and such.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you guys would dig it. So yeah, there's a couple in the pipeline I think you guys will have a lot of fun with.
Yeah, I hope it's Mary Choppins.
I don't know when that would be public domain, but yeah, probably
No, it's
The-
not
it-
for
she-
a while.
for a while.
Yeah.
Probably.
We'll have
Like
to
down
look
to
it up.
spinach.
I think Nancy Drew is going to be public domain next year, so there might be a Nancy Drew slash.
Oh, wow.
Ah,
That would be good. That would be
that'd
good.
be good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
guys. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much
having
for your
me. It's been a
time.
pleasure. Being interviewed
Thank-
by
thank you.
Art Keeper and you guys is pretty amazing. So thanks.
Be
Yeah, the
careful
Crypt
what
Keeper.
you ask for, Jeff. You may
With-
get it.
Thanks, Gary.
You're,
All right,
you're,
thank
you're
you.
cool, man.
Take care.
We
Have a
love
great
you.
day.
You're
Take
awesome.
care.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye. He's a nice guy.
He is
He's
a
a
nice
nice
guy.
guy.
It's also really, really fabulous what he's accomplishing. I mean, I'm enjoying what he's, waiting to see what he comes up with next. That's great.
Yeah.
It's good. I think that we should have signed an NDA before this because those were all really good ideas.
I have some really good ideas.
We just gotta write the
I
script
didn't want to
first.
put them out there because they'll be stolen
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
We can go through and cut out all of our really good ideas and
yeah.
and leave just the terrible ones. It's
Leave it
bait.
terrible now.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
I like the Charlie Brown thing, although
Yeah.
that's public domain is what, like 75 years?
Mickey
Pepper-
Mouse isn't even public domain yet. It's just Steamboat Willie. So that's how far back.
Yeah. Well, that's
Well-
that's cause of Disney. Like they are the ones who
Yeah.
have lobbied repeatedly for that, which is
Yeah.
the height of
Well,
irony.
Is it from the first showing or is it from the death of the author? I can't remember.
I think it's from the first showing because if it's the death, then I think it will be later for Steamboat Willie because Walt didn't die for.
Yeah, in
A
the
while after
60s.
that.
He died in
Yeah.
the 60s.
Yeah.
Although
I
I
remember
guess
when
we are
he
coming up
died.
on 75 years of the death of the author. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember when he died because it was a big deal because he did the cryogenic thing. They cut his head off and froze it.
Yeah.
Did they really, or was that just a wives' tale?
No,
they
they
actually
did.
it. Really?
They did. And then I think like 20 years ago, they had a big fight over, I think the cryogenic place was going out of business and who ends up with Walt Disney's head.
Yeah, and the times are unusual, and which leads me into our next story about the Stay in LA rally, which I'm excited to be a part of because, I mean, there's a lot we can say about that, but I hope that people show up, they pay attention, and listen, and also make some adjustments to help keep production in LA.
Yeah. And yes, we're going to be there. And John, they have asked us to do a live podcast from there.
Really?
Yes, they have.
That's amazing.
Yes. So we are going to be interviewing crew members and we'll have some stories and it'll be good. I think it's a really good place to do the pod. But what I wanted to say was, okay, so let's give you the details. So Stay in LA, the rally, it is Sunday, April 6th. And from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Surreal Studios, 8500 Lancashire Boulevard, Sun Valley, California. The rally is in support of the Stay in LA movement. It's a grassroots effort dedicated to fighting against runaway production and advocating for strong policies that protect jobs and keep the entertainment industry thriving in California. That is what that is about. And this is a very near and dear to our heart effort that, it's like someone's got to do it. It's like, what is that quote? If not now, when? If not who? Or what? If not who, us? Did I say that right? No.
I don't know, but it makes sense.
If not us.
If not
who?
now,
If not us,
when?
who?
If
Yeah.
not us, who then?
Who then?
If not when, how?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not when.
Which that's another great idea for a horror film, The Grinch. So join us at Stay in LA on April 6th. There's going to be a lot of speakers. They bring the kids. There's going to be things for the kids to do because so much of the crews in Hollywood, actually, they're all family people. They all have kids, and a lot of kids are going to be there. So it's a bit of a family thing. It's a bit of a very serious thing. They're going to have the speaker list is going to come out next week, but we'll see. There's going to be all kinds of people talking about it, but it's a great thing to get involved in, and we are going to be there.
Fabulous. Thank you, Jeff Miller, for joining us today.
Yes. And, I'm sinking. My chair is sinking. Notice that? I have to. I'm sitting up straighter and straighter. So, okay, John. All right.
We're losing it.
Anyway, that's our show for this week. Thank you. We hope to see you on April 6th. And come say hi to us. We will be there potting our little asses off.
Peace, love,
And we'll put in the
happiness.
show notes too where to find Popeye the Slayer Man on VOD. All right.
I'm Popeye the Slayer Man. You'll wind up in a garbage can. I kill to the finish 'cause I eat toxic spinach. I'm Popeye the Slayer Man.
And see.
This has been Radio Free Hollywood.
Radio Free.
This has been Radio
This has
Free Hollywood.
been Radio Free Hollywood.